The 2025 timeline. We're talking about the higher timeline and 5 ways for you to prepare for it. 5 very, very important things that you need to know in order to be on the 2025 higher timeline. Wait. What is that? What is the 2025 higher timeline? Let's look at what it was meant to look like. Because what we're about to step into is not what it was meant to look like. The archons who controlled the false matrix for eons and eons of time. These beings had a plan for 2025. They had a plan for all of our history. And their plan worked pretty damn well. Until we hit 2012. That's when the first snags started to come in, where their plans were kind of going a little bit awry and then a lot awry, and that was caused by the light workers coming online. The Earth's magnetic field got weaker and weaker, allowing in more and more cosmic light consciousness that we were shut off from and deprived of for all of our duration in the false matrix. Suddenly, as that started to come online, the light workers, who are beings who work with light, okay? That's because I always get this question, how do I know if I'm a light worker? Because you hold love, which is light. You hold truth, which is light inside of you. You're able to recognize things because you have light. You can see things that others can't see, feel things that others can't feel. So the light workers began to wake up en masse. Some of them before 2012, but en masse from 2012. So that really began to put a thorn in the side of the archonic plans. But exponentially that grew and grew. Now listen to what 2025 was meant to look like, you guys. This is the archonic plan. This is the plan that will not happen. It was meant to look like devastation, deprivation, starvation. It was meant to look like a massive, full-scale depression on this planet on every level. So that would be a depression, monetary, emotional. It was meant to be a time of world war, unrest around the world. It was meant to be, I put out a short video talking about this, about how 2025 was meant to be a time of world war. And somebody wrote, oh, Kerry, you're just so privileged. You live in a country where there is no war. No, that's not accurate at all. I live in a crime-ridden country, but that's okay. They were saying, oh, there's been war for all of our lives, essentially, and there's war going on now still. Yes, I'm well aware. What the 2025 timeline was to make the wars that we've seen look like nothing compared to what was ongoing, and it was meant to affect every single country, that's the definition of a world war, isn't it? Was meant to get involved in some way. That means every human was going to be affected. It's very different when there's a war that you're watching, even if you're protesting against it. It's very different to watch something happening in somebody else's life versus to have front row seats, to experience it yourself. Can you imagine the levels of poverty, of starvation, of fear that was meant to happen? That is part of the doom and gloom scenario that was created. And this was all to establish one thing, and that was to create a noose around the neck of humanity so that by the time 2030 came along, there could be a little tightening of the noose. We got them all. We'll round them up starting in 2025. And then with each passing year, the noose was meant to get tighter and tighter. But guess what? The higher timeline is. See, now that I've given you a little bit of contrast, now you can go, ooh, I get it. The higher timeline is a higher frequency. Every time you have healed, now please listen to this because I really want you to know, and I want you to forward this to your friends who maybe don't see the importance of the work that they've done on themselves, and that is, every time you heal, every time you transcend some kind of negativity, and no, you don't have to heal it out perfectly, and now you're a perfect human who never experiences pain. Just take a step forward. If you take a step forward and they take a step forward and she takes a step and he takes a step and I take a step, oh, and look over there, someone's taken 10 steps and oh, you've taken 100, you go getter, you. Do you see what happens? That creates a ripple. Every tiny little speckle of healing creates a stardust that becomes a golden ripple that begins to shift the collective consciousness. This is why we have an elevated timeline now. We could not possibly have an elevated timeline because somebody gave it to us. Because the galactics came in and said, oh, look, you poor humans, you don't know what you're doing. We'll come in and fix it for you. That was never going to be permissible. That was never going to lead to ascension. We always had to navigate the ascension path. There's I was going to say a movie. That's hilarious. There's a movie on my channel. No, guys, there's not. There's a video on my channel that I created called Galactic Wars, where I explain what happened. The galactics took down the broadcast signal that was the false matrix. And then we had a very big responsibility. We then had to do the rest, which was pretty huge. The rest is to dismantle the programs of the past, the programs that we held within us, that were passed down to us generation by generation by generation, getting stronger and stronger and stronger until we sit with this heap of programming that we now get to dismantle. That is the job, so to speak, of the light worker. It's that dismantling process, and it's because of the dismantling process, which occurred because something bugged you. Why do you heal? You don't heal because you're in a state of joy and perfection. You heal because you're in a state of misery, suffering, and unhappiness and discomfort. And you don't want the discomfort, so you go, okay, I'm either going to resist against the discomfort or I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to reach for a higher truth. And that higher truth could have just been a drop. But that drop of light does something. It continually ripples. It continually grows. That's the nature of true healing. It continually expands. Now, the false matrix spirituality of the past was specifically put in place. I know people don't like it when I say this, but it's true. Was specifically put in place in order to prevent humanity from true healing. We were taught to heal in our head. We were taught to use words and thoughts and to keep our healing very much up here, very linear, very much in the mental realm. And the false matrix was a prison of the mental realm. The false matrix is based on your access to the mental realm only and no access to the energetic realm where you, the multidimensional infinite realm where you actually live. But in spite of all of that, we're starting to come online. And as we come online, like I said, we've shifted reality, but now we need to see, what does the higher timeline hold for us? The higher timeline has many gifts, many miracles for us. One of them, only one, is healing, abundance, advancements in technology. I'm not going to go too deep into those. Rather, I'll link the video where I spoke about those. There's going to be many more videos, by the way, where I'm going to talk about what's coming in 2025. But can you feel that we're just in the preparation phases right now? So all of this higher timeline stuff is coming in. So we were prepared for a very doom gloom scenario. Now look what's happening. Okay, so now we're going into an elevated timeline, but there's still a lot. In fact, the majority of people holding a preparation energy as if they're waiting for the doom and gloom scenario, as if they are prepared, because they are, for the doom and gloom scenario. So that means the light workers, the onus is on the light workers to really hold and uplift themselves. Please don't walk around with the misunderstanding that says, oh, you know, I'm a martyr. I'm going to do this for everybody else. I'm going to do this because the others don't know how. It doesn't work that way. You can only do it for you. But the benefit of your healing and your evolution and your growth and your individual ascension journey is the ripple. The ripple that moves into the collective that causes each individual to awaken and awaken and awaken. It's kind of like this pop awakening going on. And we always thought, oh, but I'm just one little old thing. I'm just one little old human. I don't have power. I don't have a platform. I can't change the world. What can I do? Change yourself. We kind of knew this, but now to see this becoming actualized. Oh, baby. This leads to a spectacular, unstoppable ripple wherein we start seeing a massive shift, you guys. There's going to be so much disclosure in 2025. There's going to be so much truth. But I think you guessed this as well. There's going to be so much untruth. So let's talk about 5 ways. Oh, and by the way, if you see my lighting in the background changing, is because the sun is going behind the clouds all the time. So I'm probably going to be a bit lit up sometimes and then look a little bit dim at other times. That's what happens when you don't sit in a recording studio, but rather in your bedroom. Okay. So 5 ways that we need to really prepare ourselves. Each step here is really, really important. Personally, I think number 3 is the most important, but that's just me. You let me know in the comments below. I really want to know from you, of the 5 that I'm sharing, what really hits a note for you and says to you, oh, that's for me. That's what I've got to practice. Okay, let's start number 1, discernment. Do I need to say this? The drones. Do I need to say this? The psyops are going to get intense, because you guys, the war is still on. What war? You said there's no war. The invisible war, the war for your consciousness, the war for your frequency, the war for your opinion, the war for your thought. That's the real war of our era, of our time. That's what ascension is. It is an attempt on behalf of a group of beings, we're called the lightworkers, to ascend out of the false matrix and those pulling them back, called the archons, who want to populate more false matrices using the existing fodder, meaning the existing human beings, to recreate a new false matrix on other planets and in other places. That's the war that's going on. So you're going to see so many opportunities to be misled and distracted. You're going to see so many opportunities. So your discernment is absolutely 1000% the most critical thing to put in place. But okay. What is discernment? Discernment is an inner knowing. Where do you get the inner knowing from? Trust. Trust in self. Where do you get the trust from? Because we've been born to a reality that says, I'm the news, trust me. I'm a honest politician, trust me. I am big pharma, big tech, trust me. I have your interests at heart. I know what I'm doing. I'm the authority. I'm the school teacher. I'm the boss. We've been born to a matrix that has never prepared us to trust ourselves. We've always placed our trust out there, and then we wonder why so many of us walk around with trust issues. And I've often said this, you got no business trusting somebody else until you learn to trust yourself. The universe will teach you over and over again, don't put your trust there, even if it's with the right person, even if it's with the right place, even if it's with truth, don't put your trust in something outside of you until it exists within you. Next question. But Carrie, okay, how do I trust myself? Oh, you got such good questions. You got to know yourself. You've got to connect with yourself. Now we get to sticky terrain, sticky territory. Okay. It was all cool until she said, got to connect. Because why? There's all this gunk, there's all this junk, there's all this debris that I've been ignoring, says the masses of humanity. There's all this stuff that I didn't want to deal with. Now she wants me to connect with it? Yeah, exactly. That's where trust occurs, with connection. We've been brainwashed by the spiritual community of the old, by society at large, to not go into discomfort. We've been brainwashed to a point that the moment we feel something negative, we want to run away. Whoa, I don't know what that was. that felt terrible. Love and light. And we try to distract ourselves into a higher frequency. Doesn't work that way. We've got to alchemize the density, alchemize the lower frequencies. Trust occurs when you trust that you can feel whatever arises, whatever is there. One of the places I see people with the best of intentions fall on their butt. And the best of intentions are, I want to grow, I want to heal, I want to evolve. They come into my online community, Plasma Light Tribe. Here I come. I'm going to ascend with Carrie. Woo. And then they feel something negative and they go, I'm out of here. That's not for me, baby. Ooh, there's darkness happening there. It's your own darkness purging. If you go into a meditation, maybe this has happened for you. I don't know. Let me know if it has. A lot of people tell me, I go into a meditation, I go into an energetic field, which is meant to be love, light, and then suddenly there's like tentacles trying to get me, or there's this fear, or there's this black, or there's this dark. The stuff that we buried will come up. will come up, and trust that your light is there. Yes, there's density, many, many layers of it. And yes, there's light, and it illuminates all of it, is more powerful than everything. And when you start trusting your light, oh baby, now we got trust. Now we've got trust online. When you've got that online, you've got discernment online. Okay, so this is a big deal. Discernment it's one word, and people have been throwing it around as if everyone knows how to do it and what it means, but it's a practice. Your spirituality is a practice. At the most recent Plasma Light Tribe call, someone asked a question: how do I know if what I'm connecting to is my soul? And I said, you don't. You don't. You go on a date with somebody, right? And you go on one date. How are you going to know them? You don't. You got to go on multiple dates. So you got to go on multiple dates with your soul, meaning you've got to spend time connecting. Spend time connecting, and then you get to know, oh, that's my ego. Oh, baby, that's my soul. Because you start developing feelers for the resonance. But it's like people come in to spirituality, into my online community, into their spiritual journey, their spiritual awakening, and they instantly want to know, how do I know if it's my soul? There is no rule book. You can't Google this stuff. You can only feel. And actually, there's no shortcut. There's only the foolproof system that the universe is. You have to actually feel your way through everything that's been stuck there. But at the same time, I don't suggest doing this on your own unless you've got a monumental level of support around you. What do I mean by that? When I say don't do this on your own, I'm not trying to create fear. I'm trying to create a very authentic preparation. A lot of people will hear me say, go in and feel what you feel. Go in and allow yourself to be real. Okay, so that means you're going to go into big layers of density. You do need support. You do need something to connect to support you in accessing the light that's also there. I can't tell you what a difference that makes. You know it. I have an online community where I support people in doing this. Maybe you've got somebody else. Maybe you've got a book. Maybe you've got a meditation. Honestly, I'm not telling you, you have to come to me. I'm the only one that can help you. I'm telling you, I can help you, but use what works for you. That's why I created the sacred space of an online community where people can really go into a place that's safe, into an energy field that is protected and safe, and connect to all of those layers so that they can find the light. That's the basis of trust, which is the basis of discernment. Number 2. So number 1 was a little bit of a mouthful, okay? But number 2 is, I suppose, a little bit connected. It's about independent thought. Remember, what we're looking at is 5 ways that or 5 things that we've really got to do in 2025 to operate at that higher timeline. I need to tell you something. A lot of people are already in that zone of the higher timeline. So then you're going to say, okay, then where are the rest of the people? They're stragglers. They're battling to catch up. And what they're going to do is they're going to have the ripple of those operating the 2025 timeline available to them, but they're going to feel like they're always running behind, like they're trying to catch up. And those that are ascending and holding the higher frequency on the timeline are just going to keep elevating. So that's going to be a little bit frustrating for the people that are running behind, and they're going to almost want to attach to the old familiar. They're going to keep looking for the old timeline and keep recreating the old timeline. And therefore, the option and the opportunity still exists for them to have their own strife, struggle, inner war. It may not be an external worldwide thing, but now you can have an internal experience. Almost like, well, I'm going to have my own private doom and gloom scenario, my own private dark timeline that I'm going to delve into. There are people that are going to have that experience. That's what I mean when I say, how do you operate that higher or on the higher timeline? These are the 5 ways. So number 2 is independent thought, which basically means be very careful of programmed hysteria. Be very aware of how the false matrix has worked in the past. Programmed hysteria, which is something like we saw with the war in Ukraine. Now, please don't think, oh, Kerry thinks the war isn't bad. No, Kerry thinks that war everywhere and anywhere is an atrocity. is an absolute abomination of the human spirit. It is not what we are designed for, who we are. It is the antithesis of the human consciousness. But programmed hysteria is what happens when we're shown on mass media, and a whole lot of celebrities get behind it and go, that war, above all wars, that war is the bad one. The Ukraine war is a great example. What's happening in the Middle East, another great example. You guys, there have been wars that have happened in the very recent past that were never even televised, that you never even heard of. There were children being tortured and people starving and dying and death, and you didn't even know the name of the country. Where was the outrage when there was the war in Yemen, where there were mass genocides in Africa? There have been so many wars that we simply were not told about. There are today multiple wars that we don't know the names of because they don't suit the mass hysteria. I need you just to see that in order for you to have independent thought, it means you must feel independently. Now, what does that mean, to feel independently? So often I see questions like this. Why do I feel, Carrie? People ask me this in the comments all the time, every day, even in the online community, but they learn very quickly. Don't ask Carrie that question. Why do I feel sad, Carrie? They say, why do I feel this energy, Carrie? Why do I feel this density? Why do I feel? It's like just this everyday question. Why do I feel X, Y, Z? And my answer is always the same. It doesn't matter why you feel what you feel. It matters that you feel what you feel. Because we've been conditioned to not feel things independently. And again, you'll see this in comment sections on social media every single day. And that is people going, I feel this energy. Who else is feeling it? Almost as if to say, I can't feel something on my own. That's scary. If everyone else is feeling it, that's cool. What if you are the only one navigating through a specific frequency? Then you need to have the courage to navigate through that specific frequency and not require everybody else on the planet to join you. Some things are for you and you alone to feel. And it's the cultivation of independent feeling that leads to the cultivation of true independent thought. In other words, when I allow myself to feel what is there, what I feel, then I'm going to allow myself to think in a truer and more authentic way, in a less conditioned, less programmed way. Right? So number 2 was a lot more succinct, but there we go. That was the second point on our list. Here's the third one. Remember I said, I think number 3 is the most important, but you let me know. Listen to 4 and 5. Number 3 is the difference between the old way of doing things and the new, which is the difference between resisting against the old. There's this huge campaign, you guys, that says, I do not consent, right? Have you seen it? So, for example, something will come onto the news and we'll see that it's part of the old program of the old collapsed false matrix that we know the galactics have taken down, that we're really here to sweep out, almost like we've got this broom of light that we get to sweep out from within us. So we recognize those attempts, those external attempts towards control of ourselves and humanity, and then we say things like, or we're told to say things like, I do not consent. I do not consent to this level of control. I do not consent. Now, I'm not saying you must consent, and I'm also not saying you must ignore. What I'm saying is acknowledge. Always acknowledge. When you see something, whether it is something beautiful or something very unbeautiful, just acknowledge this is what is. That's the foundation of acceptance, which is the foundation of alchemy, but that's what I teach in the PLT. So learning to see reality without going into resistance against it is a massive breakthrough for us. Because whether it is with the I do not consent or whether it is with the picketing or the pushing against, what we do when we resist against a reality is we actually perpetuate the reality. We fuel the reality that we're pushing against. So what option do we have then? Carrie, are you saying just let all this stuff happen? Are you saying don't do anything? No, I'm saying do something way more powerful, way more powerful. Instead of resisting against a reality, embody the new. That's the memo, you guys, that the light workers have been missing because they've been so indoctrinated by the past facade of spirituality. Embody the new. What does that mean? It means there is a higher reality, a higher octave, a higher frequency that's not broadcast on the news, that's available for you to connect with. And in connecting with it, in doing the meditative work, the energetic work, in order to access these higher frequencies, we learn to embody the new. And no, just like learning to trust your soul, it's also not a one and done affair, kind of like, okay, I did it once and now I'm done. This is something you practice for. This is something you learn to do. I see people trying, they come in to the PLT and then I show them this deep, big powerhouse energy. Most of the tribe goes, oh my God, Carrie, it was so amazing. And then you'll get this fraction of people, and either they're new or they're just battling, and they go, Ma, I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel a damn thing. Nothing happened for me. I didn't get the lights in the sky. I didn't get the neon message from God. I didn't get any of the stuff that everybody else is getting. Because it's almost like using a muscle, right? You got to practice to use this new muscle, so to speak. And so many people get so disheartened when they realize that it's work to learn, to practice, to tune into these elevated frequencies, but that's our job. So invest a little bit of time in yourself to teach yourself this new muscle memory, to use that equivalent, to be able to connect to the higher realms. Because we're so used to connecting to density. Oh, look. There's depression, so familiar. Why is depression familiar for a lot of people? Because they've spent time connecting. Why is joy familiar for a lot of people? Because they've spent time connecting. So this is just about learning how to acclimate to the higher frequencies that are now available. This makes me think of a comment I saw this morning. Somebody wrote this very sweet comment on YouTube, and she wrote something along the lines of, I hope that my level of consciousness is enough in order for me to ascend. And I replied, and I was like, no, your level of consciousness is so enough. Your level of consciousness was always enough. There is nothing at fault, nothing wrong with your level of consciousness. The question is, can I clear enough of the density? Can I let go of enough of the story of my ego and who I thought I was and what I thought I was meant to be? Can I let go of that enough so that I can allow the consciousness that is there to emerge? That's very much what we're doing right now in point number 3, is learning to embody the light that is here, to connect to the light that is here and really bring it into an embodiment. Got it? That's number 3. Okay, now, number 4, you guys, cynical and jaded. Oh my God, a lot of people are going to get cynical and jaded because there is so much disclosure about to unfold. And as it does, can you imagine? Well, a couple of scenarios. One is people are going to just shut off. And they're going to go, well, everything's a lie. And this is really where people start short-circuiting, and I've seen it for years. The moment people start connecting with a level of disclosure, then what happens for them is they start seeing everything as a conspiracy, everything as a lie, and they lose the ability to discern. That's why discernment was at point number 1 of the things we've got to establish. They begin to get so bogged down by the expectation that everything is bad, everything is against them, nothing can be good, truth isn't here, this is all lie, 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 lie. I mean, I've had people say to me, oh my God, the funniest things. People have said to me, Carrie, you work for Big Pharma. Oh my God, you guys, I'd be living in a freaking mansion if that was the case. Not that I ever would. Well, I would live in a mansion, but I wouldn't work for Big Pharma. I've had people say the most ridiculous, make the most outlandish claims. Carrie's not real. She's a robot. She's AI. She's obviously artificial intelligence. You guys, my God, if that was the case, would I choose a flabby body? Would I do that? No. If I was AI, I promise you, I would have a chiseled chin. I certainly would be presenting in a much more refined form. They've been the most, because people can't see the wood for the trees. The moment they start seeing some of the lies, they then go, well, everything is a lie. And then they get shut off. So avoid, that's point number 4. Avoid cynicism and jadedness, which comes down to learn to see things as they are. Because when you see things as they are without the knee-jerk response, then you learn, this is the cultivation of sacred neutrality that I'm describing to you, then you learn the skill and the fine art of seeing reality as it actually is, which is spectacular. Reality as it actually is right now is only about 1,000 times bigger, better, wilder, and more wondrous than what we could dream for, hope for, pray for, and ask for. We just don't yet know. Now I'm building up to point number 5. We just don't yet know how to receive. That's point number 5. We have to cultivate receptivity. We have to cultivate a sense of, I don't have to fight for what I want anymore. I now have to, it's a whole different ball game, you guys. I now have to allow abundance, allow love, allow truth, allow higher consciousness, allow the things that I've so wanted in my life that I've thought that I had to fight for. Now I don't have to fight for them. I have to do this different thing, which is acknowledge that it's already here, but I have to allow the love that is here, the light that is here in. So receptivity is a massive part of the higher 2025 timeline. Is this an elitist thing? Somebody asked me that, truly. Crazy for me, but yeah. They said, oh, Kerry, you talk about these front runners, so they're the special ones, they're the elite, and nobody else can get the joy except for them, and no one else can get the abundance except for them. No, everyone can be a front runner. There is nobody in the world that is denied to. But honestly, most of you listening will know this. It's not a joyful experience. Being a front runner means you experience energy first. You experience energy very intensely. You get tried, you get tested, dark nights of the soul. You have so much to work through because you're busy alchemizing. And those that avoid that because they don't yet feel safe enough to feel at that level of density, at that level of depth, they're going to just avoid it, and then they're going to hang out in victimhood or some kind of illusion or some kind of density, and then resent the front runners. The front runners are the guys that have got the bruises and the knocks and the grazes all over them. They're literally covered in them from the emotional battles that they've faced within themselves and triumphed. And the triumph that they've had is the triumph of acceptance. Right? Go back and listen to those 5 points again so that you understand perhaps now also, so what are the front runners actually doing that makes them able to front run? What are their skills? It's those 5 things that I've just mentioned, right? 2025, the higher timeline is so spectacular. It's like a green oasis in comparison to the darkness that we were headed for. In 2025, there is so much coming for us. How much can you receive, and how good can this get? That's the question you need to ask yourself from my heart, all the way to yours. I hold you in so much love. Let it in. Now you know. Oh, this is why Kerry keeps telling me, can you feel it? Let it in, let it in. Okay, because she's been helping me practice. Yes. To let the higher timeline in. We were born for this. The fact that this is happening in 2025, you guys, is a miracle. What we're seeing right now at one point was totally off the cards, and at another point was way in the 2030s. So what we've got going on right now is a miracle that gives us a shortcut into ascension. Do you feel the love? I'm going to leave the video that I've referred to up here where I spoke a little bit about what's coming in the 2025 timeline. But like I said, there'll be heaps more coming for you from my heart.